New Year's resolutions are bad for your mental health. Do this instead. Hi everybody, welcome back to a brand new year. It's the end of January and I hope that you are just like me looking for better ways to goal set with better results. My name is Zwana and we're gonna be here to talk about why exactly sometimes goal setting ends up bombing and crashing down. It has everything to do with your emotions, and New Year's resolutions are just simply messing with your mind. Think about it. Those goals are based on the idea you are self-aware and have a consistent life season. Which TV show is consistent and has a consistent life season? Don't you feel like your TV shows are like those exaggerated K-pop series that I absolutely love? That one moment you want to laugh with the character and then 2 minutes later you're also crying. And so, but in reality, a lot of us have repressed emotions, coping mechanisms that don't allow us to effectively deal with the emotional cost of change. And what has this pandemic shown you besides the importance of your emotional health? I found goals don't fail due to the lack of effort. We put a lot of effort. I'm sure there's somebody like me who was up there at 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning for a straight up 5 months, even way before the pandemic happened. So sometimes these goals that we set fail because of your emotional well-being. So grab your favorite drink. If you're on a Kumbi Manzini or a taxi in New York City or in your friend's car in Oklahoma, grab yourself a drink, grab yourself time out, and let's go through some of the mental health breaks I think you should give a try, and see how that changes your whole idea with goal setting and maybe the New Year's resolutions that you'd like to set for this year. And as always, guys, if this post may contain affiliate links, if you buy something from one of my links, you won't pay any penny more, but I do get a small commission. And I always just love to suggest products and items that I would use or have done a thorough research of, and I support the whole system. So let's get into it. This is Zwane's Fitness Mission Extended Podcast from my Black Couture Health and Wellness Lifestyle blog. Just throw the whole body in the trash. First got this comment from my friend when talking about lame boys and relationships. I was frustrated. Let me give you a backstory on this one. I am a career ambitious young woman who just was obsessed with fitness and health, obsessed with getting trophies, up until one day I had decided, you know what, let me try relationships. I can have everything I want out of life. Because the truth is, I was avoiding relationships because humans are complicated. They're not like trophies, they're not like awards and honors, that if I work these 5 steps, I will gain it. Humans are complicated, even more complicated than the fastest ride at Six Flags. Let me tell you. So I was frustrated with this guy, having started dating at 27, and my friend let out a huge sigh and said in a really cool Haitian accent, just throw the whole body in the trash. Which made me burst out laughing, like, yeah, I think we've spoken about this quite enough. It's an emotional journey on its own, right? As like I said, when you decide to date, we don't think about the emotional side of the journey. We just said, yeah, I want to date. And then we think it's going to be like The Bachelorette. Unfortunately, not really. And even that has an emotional cost to it. I mean, when are they going to choose my favorite star? So it's more than dating a lame guy, because there really isn't such a thing as a lame man. There's just a man on his own journey. Stay with me on this one, because we can just judge anyone without really seeing their struggles. And like you, He's a man knowingly or unknowingly covering emotional trauma, struggling with a sense of self-worth, struggling with a sense of self-knowledge on how to love you, and when have we given men the space to claim their emotions, right? That whole idea is roughly new. And especially now when there was a rise long before the pandemic happened in suicide rates amongst young men in Southern Africa. So when we are dating an individual, sometimes we go in to think that this person is going to be my whole entire world. He's going to fix everything for me. But have you really sat down with this young gentleman across you to really go into his brain and see if he's emotionally ready for that emotional journey that takes place when you're dating an individual? And if you're not repressing your emotions or having a low mental health season where you're just like, oh, you know what, there's too much happening right now, I maybe need to shove a few things to the back of what's happening in my life, that's a low mental health season. Some New Year's resolutions don't fit into what might be your reality because your personality, your mental health, your emotional health is consistently shifting. And do we ever then take the time to shift those New Year's goals along with the emotional season, along with the financial season, along with our personal seasons? New Year's resolutions make it seem like life keeps the same goal set on January 1st. Let me tell you, nope. One of my favorite quotes I have here is, quote, "What ends up happening is people tend to avoid the emotional cost of change. Not knowing the emotional cost of change leads to major mental health issues and emotional issues we see today, and in various unicorn colors. Unicorn colors are anger, rage, depression, control, perfectionism, alcoholism, career freaks like myself, or dropouts. I mean, who said unicorns are all entirely good, right? We'll get to that quotation later on. But just to stem all from, and can we talk about COVID? What did COVID teach you? Because if it didn't come with becoming flexible to change and redirection, where were you the whole of 2020? No, seriously, where were you the whole of 2020? And if I can be honest, there are definitely some areas in my life where I was very resistant to change, and some areas in my life where I was open to change. And it all has to do with the emotional well-being and that space of time. The willingness and understanding my healing, or knowing if I've healed or not healed. All of those things contribute to the flexibility and willingness to be redirected during that time. I went to work the entire time the world seemed to be on lockdown. It was an eerie version of walking in The Walking Dead, where you wake up to a deserted roads, police blockades, and like, okay, so where are all the zombies? Right? That was my first experience of COVID here in Manzini, Eswatini. While sitting in the kumbi waiting to spray somebody with a sanitizer when they sneeze. That was my experience of the first few days of COVID. And that's why I'm throwing New Year's resolutions away, down the trash, along with everything else that makes you feel like you have to have a New Year's resolutions. Because even God does this thing way before COVID was a thing, where He changes your plans and gives you what is right for you and not necessarily what you want. So how about looking at it this way? I know for me personally, I've always been this individual. I was a curvy girl who would come first in national swimming. I broke records, even shocked my coaches sometimes, even if they were used to maybe my performance. But I never realized that I actually did care a lot about what people said to me. I cared a lot about the parent who when I came first, pulled this child out the pool and screamed at him because I came first as opposed to the daughter. Why would you let this fat child beat you? I didn't realize how those things really affected me as a child. But if I look back at it now, I actually understood it really did affect me quite a lot because I was ashamed of my awards. I remember one time I won 9 awards and I shoved them in my swimsuit, zipped my jacket all the way up. I had won my first gold medal, can you imagine? And I beat everyone half of the length of the pool. But I felt like I didn't deserve to stand out, show the medal to everyone. So I remember sheepishly driving home with my dad, and my dad asking me, hey, how was your, how did the race go today? And I was like, oh, I won. And he goes, what? Oh, I came first today. And I showed him my gold medal and then tucked it back into my jacket again. And, it was kind of normal to have gone through that process. What I really love about, God sometimes changes your plan. You ask him to, can I please set me up? Please take me to new heights. And I remember I was faced with a lot of judgmental people coming back. So now fast forward from being the 10-year-old girl to returning home from Norman, Oklahoma, being there for a couple of years doing university at the University of Oklahoma, now back in Swaziland. I faced a lot of people who just would judge me based off the fact that I think I'm this high and mighty girl because I come from, a U.S. university. And I found myself again hiding my awards and honors, freaking out inside. Why do these people even know I went to the U.S.? And doing all the best that I could to not show them my awards and honors, and resenting when they found my awards and honors. But I couldn't avoid that because I had also won the African Queen pageant. So it wasn't like, I'm too discreet for somebody who is very avid to find out who am I and use that to maybe put me down and shut me down. And so some of you might be thinking in those spaces, you just wanted like an upgrade in your career, or you just wanted to go up in your career, without realizing that sometimes God puts you in places with people like that, not because he just thinks that it's funny for you to, go through something like that, but it's maybe about time for you to stop hiding who you really are. Stop hiding that phenomenalness about you. Stop hiding that great quality about you in your life and start showing it. I definitely know there were a lot of people like myself who are really phenomenal, and you think that it's way easy to play dumb. It is not easy to play dumb. And I will talk about that quite later in terms of the major consequences it is to feel like shutting down and, trying to hide who you really are, trying to hide that brilliant side about you, that intelligent side about you, that bit of quality that that you have that maybe you may contribute in any area of your life, within the community, within your workplace, within your friendships, within your families. So what I really appreciated and loved about that one, because I would always be like, why am I surrounded by these crazy people? I didn't ask for these crazy people. I asked for a job upgrade. And it was the response I kept on getting was, the story of Moses. So then you go and you read the story of Moses. Moses was hiding at the fact that he stutters a lot. He doesn't like these people. He's not a good orator. And then only to turn out that through the courage, through God pushing him, through God encouraging him, through God mentoring him, through that whole entire experience, Moses ended up being one of the most, they always say in the Bible, he's one of the most powerful leaders in the Bible. Even though there's a funny story, even though there's a plot twist, or I don't know, he didn't get to the see the fruits of his work at the end of it. I really appreciated that one, because then in a lot of times that's part of that whole story, that whole experience is part of your emotional cost to change. The emotional cost to change is I've always hidden, maybe having that parent scream at their child, or watching their parents scream at their child because I beat their child half of the length of the pool as a fat kid. It made me feel like I wasn't deserving. And so even though I'd collect these medals, I would, and I would do reckless things. Like the girls didn't want to compete, so I'd end up competing with the boys. I was the only girl, 7 boys, 1 girl, because my coach really pushed us and they wanted us to go out there. I was that type of girl. I would take those risks, but inside, I'd be wrestling with myself. Even though I would take the risk, I would still regret taking the risk, but enjoy the outcomes of it. And I felt as though, when you start asking, maybe you start planning with God, He deals with those specific things. So you end up getting the emotional cost. Is I didn't want to sit with people who, out of jealousy, were judging me for studying at a US university, as opposed to asking me what was the emotional cost of being a foreigner, of being a black woman in the United States, of what, they didn't ask me about, oh, hey, how did you adapt and evolve? Or how did being African but moving into being classified as a black woman affect your time in the US? How did that affect your time in classes? Were you ever judged for being African? They didn't ask those kind of stories. They just looked at the fact that, ew, here's another, person. They took my awards and honors and demonized them. And so I think God was letting you know that, people will be imperfect, but I don't want you to then become hardened and malicious because of maybe people's misunderstanding of who you are, and they don't take the time to understand who you are. I want you to firstly accept that there's this brilliant, intelligent part about you, and I want you to use that intelligent part about you to humbly contribute into your communities. And the most important thing is to humbly contribute, because once you know that phenomenal, once you accept that phenomenal part about you, obviously then your ego, there's always like the ego part about it. So there's a short note that I've taken into, just to reiterate to you guys why New Year's resolutions are hurting you. You can definitely go into my blog post that I first wrote on the 1st of January, just to go over why New Year's resolutions are hurting you. Thank you so much, guys, for taking me with you wherever that was. Again, my name is Zetu Zwane, and my mission is to help you with your emotional health, because I believe the one key person with the greatest wealth on this earth is a person who's gained emotional maturity and greater self-awareness. And I hope you really gained value from this post. If you have any comments or any ideas or anything more you'd like to see, comment below or reach out to me on my